Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. Before we dive into the diagram, let's quickly see where the term canary comes from. It actually originates from coal mines, where miners used canary birds to warn them of poisonous gas. If the bird reacted, they knew to evacuate. In software, a canary release sends a new version to a small portion of users first to catch problems early. Now that we know where the name comes from, let's visualize how a canary deployment works. In this diagram, on the left hand side, we can see we have users who will generate real traffic. All users hit the same production endpoint. Notice it's a single URL. They don't pick a version. We are using a Lambda function URL for this demo as we didn't want to complicate things with API gateway. The main goal is to show that Lambda has built-in support for Canary deployments. Now the traffic reaches the Lambda alias called prod. This alias acts like a traffic router which decides how much traffic goes to each version. In this example, we are sending 90% of our traffic to the stable version v1. This is our safe version that we know works. A small portion of traffic, 10% in this example, goes to new Canary version v2. This lets us test the new code safely with real users. If something goes wrong with v2, errors or unexpected behavior, we can roll back to v1. In a real system, rolling back can be automated. For our hands-on demo, we will simulate it manually. So that will be it for this diagram. Let's move on to the hands-on part. Now that we are in the AWS console, let's open Lambda. In the top right hand side, we can see we have this create function button. Let's click this create function button. Now we are in this form where we are asked for the function name. Let's call this function Canary demo. We will be choosing Node.js as a runtime. So on the bottom right, we can see we have this create function button. So let's click it. Let's wait till the function gets created. Now we can see that the function has been successfully created. Please note that we have the name Canary demo here. Now we can see that we have this handler created for us with the message hello from Lambda. We want to create a version of this code. Let's append v1 to this message so that it's easy to distinguish which version was called. Now let's click deploy button from the bottom left hand side of our screen. Let's wait till the code gets deployed. Now we can see on the top right we have a message that says the function was updated successfully. Now let's create a version out of it by clicking this versions tab. In the versions tab we can see publish new version. So let's click this publish new version and call this, let's say, stable version 1 and publish it. Now we can see that we have this :1 appended to the function name, which means that this is the version 1. Now let's create an alias by clicking in this action button on the top right. We can see that we have create alias option. So let's click this create alias, and in this alias, in name, let's write it as prod. In the version, since we just have a single version called version 1, let's just select it for now and let's click save. Now we can see that we have successfully created an alias. From this drop down we can see we have a version called version 1 and an alias called prod. Now let's move to this alias part. On the configuration tab, we can see we have function URL. Let's click into this function URL to get the actual URL that we can call. So let's click create function URL. For this demo, to keep things simple, we will be using auth type as none and click save. Now we can see that we have successfully created a function URL from the alias called prod. So let's test this by opening this function URL. Now we can see that we got back the message hello from Lambda v1. As I refresh this page, I can see that this code is working. Now let's move on and create another version 2 of our Lambda function. In this code, let's make a change from v1 to v2 and click deploy. Let's wait for our deploy to complete. We can see that it has been deployed successfully. Now again we'll go to this versions tab and click publish new version. Let's call this version 2. Let's say it as new version 2. Now click on publish. Now you can see in the Lambda function name we got :2, which means this is a version 2 of the Canary demo code. Now let's move on to the alias called prod. In the drop down we can see we have this alias called prod. So let's click into it. In this alias prod we are currently in a configuration tab. Under configuration tab we have this general configuration. In this general configuration we want to edit it. So let's click this edit button. We can see currently we are selecting version 1. In Lambda, the Canary concept is implemented using a weighted alias. You set traffic weights between versions and the alias takes care of routing. That's what makes it a Canary. So in this weighted alias, we have this drop down where we can set version 2. Now after selecting the version 2, we can see that we got this weight 100% and weight 0%. Since this version 2 is the new version, let's set this to maybe 50% so that whenever the real traffic comes from the users, it will direct 50% of traffic to this original stable version 1 and 50% of traffic to this new version 2. Now let's click save. Now let's test our function URL and see whether the Canary deployment in Lambda is working. Now let's refresh this page and see whether it will hit a different code. You can see now we are getting hello from Lambda v2. Again v1, v1, v2, v1, v2. So we can see that now the alias prod is actually redirecting the traffic to both our stable version v1 and a Canary version v2 with 50% traffic on both versions. Now suppose there was some unexpected error or behavior that we got from our version v2. We don't want our user to be exposed to version v2. So what we can do is we can go back to this general configurations under configurations tab and click edit, and let's set this weight to 0 and click save. Now let's move to this single URL endpoint and let's refresh this page multiple times to see if the rollback has occurred. We can see that no matter how many times we refresh, we always see that hello from Lambda v1. Now since we redirected all our traffic to version 1, we can see that the version 2 did not get called by the function URL. Now suppose that the version 2 is now function and running, and we want to redirect our traffic to version 2 completely. So how can we do that? So we can put 100% as a weight for the version 2 and 0% for our old stable version 1. Now let's click save, and now again call this endpoint. Now let's refresh this page multiple times to see if our new version 2 is called for every request. Now we can say no matter how many times I refresh this page that we are calling this new version v2. The code from the version 2 is executed for every request. So that's it for this demo. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to try it for yourself and subscribe for more AWS tutorials.